It began as an ordinary morning in downtown Chicago, 2012, when the city's rhythm was abruptly shattered by whispers of a crime so cold, so meticulously planned, that it left even veteran detectives questioning how such evil could go unnoticed for so long. People often ask, how could someone be so calculated, so patient, so invisible, while committing unspeakable acts? This is not just a story of a crime. It is a story of missed signals, overlooked warnings, and the haunting consequences of inaction. By the end of this episode, you will see why justice, no matter how delayed, has a way of revealing the truth, and how those left behind are forever changed. Disclaimer: content is for awareness and educational purposes only. Viewer discretion advised. The story revolves around Daniel Moore, a man whose outward charm and polite demeanor masked a deeply manipulative and dangerous personality. For years, Moore had ingratiated himself into neighborhoods across Illinois and neighboring states, leveraging trust and social connections to exploit unsuspecting victims. By the time authorities pieced together the first threads of his crimes, dozens had already suffered emotional, financial, and physical devastation. It all started with a series of small incidents, disappearances that barely registered on police logs, anonymous complaints dismissed as misunderstandings. But beneath the surface, Moore was orchestrating a network of deception, carefully studying patterns, exploiting loopholes, and manipulating law enforcement into underestimating his reach. The first noticeable victim was a local shop owner, Mrs. Lillian Carter, whose missing funds were initially written off as internal theft. Moore, smiling warmly, had already moved on to his next target, leaving chaos in his wake while maintaining a flawless public persona. Neighbors, co-workers, and even close friends were unaware of the shadows lurking behind Moore's charming exterior. Some had fleeting suspicions, a strange phone call, an odd financial transaction, but nothing concrete enough to halt his growing spree. Authorities struggled to find a connection between scattered reports from different towns as Moore meticulously erased his tracks, leaving only subtle signs that most dismissed. Yet, the tension was palpable. A faint unease lingered among those who had unknowingly crossed paths with him. What made Moore dangerous wasn't just his criminal acts, it was his ability to infiltrate everyday life, to plant seeds of trust and watch them grow into vulnerability. The stage was set for a confrontation that no one could have predicted, and the first part of this chilling story ends with a question that still haunts many. How many more could have been saved if someone had acted sooner? If this story has gripped you so far, kindly comment "Justice Now." Share this story with everyone in your contacts who needs to see it. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVc and follow for more gripping, shocking, real-life crime stories. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to continue unraveling the twisted path of Daniel Moore. By late 2013, the pattern of Daniel Moore's actions had become impossible to ignore, yet the full scope of his manipulation remained hidden behind a veil of charm and deceit. Moore's ability to blend into ordinary life allowed him to continue undetected for years, and the consequences of that invisibility were devastating. His victims, scattered across Chicago, Naperville, and even smaller towns in Wisconsin, were beginning to speak, but only in hushed tones, fearful that revealing the truth would bring retribution. Take the case of Emily Vargas, a young barista in Evanston. Emily had met Moore at a community fundraiser where he seemed personable, even protective, offering advice and support after she disclosed personal struggles. What she didn't know was that Moore had already researched her vulnerabilities, her financial strain, her trust in adults, her quiet fear of confrontation. Within weeks, she discovered large sums missing from her savings account, funds siphoned with careful precision. By the time she realized what had happened, Moore had already moved on, leaving her questioning her judgment and doubting herself. Meanwhile, Detective Marcus Reynolds, a seasoned investigator in Chicago's Financial Crimes Unit, began noticing an alarming trend. Reports of missing funds, minor assaults, and suspicious behavior kept cropping up in multiple jurisdictions, all linked to a man who somehow avoided leaving concrete evidence. Reynolds described Moore in later interviews as a ghost who knew precisely how to manipulate the system and bend people to his will. Each lead was painstakingly followed, yet Moore's foresight and cunning created dead ends at every turn. Moore's manipulation extended far beyond financial crimes. He preyed on relationships, friendships, and even family ties. In Oak Brook, Illinois, he ensnared a single mother, Janice Teller, convincing her to invest in a fraudulent business opportunity. Her life savings evaporated within months, leaving her to juggle rent, childcare, and the creeping suspicion that someone she had trusted completely could betray her so thoroughly. Moore's victims were not faceless statistics. They were real people, their lives unraveling quietly while he maintained the illusion of innocence. By the end of 2013, a small coalition of detectives, including Reynolds, had begun connecting the dots. They realized that Moore's crimes were not isolated incidents, but a carefully orchestrated network of psychological manipulation and fraud. It became painfully clear that justice had been delayed not by incompetence, but by Moore's meticulous preparation and ability to exploit human empathy. Yet even as investigators closed in, Moore's influence lingered. The community whispered about him with fear and fascination. Questions arose. How could someone so familiar and friendly conceal such darkness? Who else had fallen into his trap? And how many victims would emerge before the law finally caught up? If this story has gripped you so far, comment "Unmask the Monster." Share this story with anyone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVc and follow for more chilling real-life crime narratives. Make sure to turn on the notification bell because Part 3 will reveal the full extent of Moore's capture, the victims he ensnared, and the shocking manipulations that shocked investigators. The winter of 2014 brought with it the first real breakthroughs in the Moore case. Detective Marcus Reynolds and his team had painstakingly gathered evidence from multiple jurisdictions, compiling financial records, eyewitness accounts, and digital footprints. It was a mosaic of small clues that, when pieced together, revealed the terrifying full scope of Moore's network. But what investigators uncovered was more chilling than anyone could have imagined. Moore's influence extended far beyond petty fraud. He had cultivated a system of psychological control, leaving victims trapped in fear, shame, and silence. Take Anthony Kim, a 27-year-old graduate student from Naperville. Moore had befriended him under the guise of mentorship, offering career guidance and access to supposed exclusive opportunities. Soon, Anthony found himself caught in a web of obligations. Borrowed money he couldn't repay, sensitive personal information used as leverage, and subtle threats designed to isolate him from friends and family. He didn't just steal money, Anthony later testified. He stole my confidence, my independence, even my sense of reality. Meanwhile, in Chicago, the case of Linda Harper illuminated Moore's manipulative prowess on a deeply personal level. Linda, a retired nurse, had unknowingly allowed Moore into her home under the pretense of caregiving for her aging father. Over months, Moore slowly siphoned her father's pension, coerced her into signing documents, and used fear and guilt to ensure she said nothing. By the time investigators arrived, Linda described a state of emotional exhaustion, wondering how someone she had trusted so implicitly could orchestrate such a betrayal. The more detectives uncovered, the more Moore's methods became clear. He used charm, calculation, and a mastery of emotional manipulation to maintain control. He knew exactly when to disappear, how to exploit empathy, and how to make victims doubt themselves. Across Chicago, Naperville, and beyond, dozens of similar stories emerged. Victims whose lives had been quietly upended, whose trust had been shattered, and whose voices had been silenced for fear of retaliation. Yet even as the evidence mounted, Moore remained elusive. He had crafted his social persona to perfection, blending into everyday life as a friendly neighbor, a helpful colleague, a seemingly ordinary man. His duality baffled law enforcement and horrified the public. The same man smiling in community photos was secretly orchestrating ruin in the lives of those who had opened their doors and hearts to him. Reynolds recalls the pivotal moment in 2014 when a breakthrough came via digital forensics, a cache of emails, encrypted messages, and bank statements that linked more definitively to multiple crimes. It was a moment of triumph, but also one of dread, as investigators realized the sheer volume of lives impacted. Each file told a story of fear, manipulation, and shattered trust. Every victim had a personal tragedy woven into the same dark tapestry of Moore's deception. The city was left with haunting questions. How could someone lead such a double life for so long? Who else remained in his grasp? And how many more victims might emerge before full justice could be served? If this story has gripped you so far, comment, expose the lies. Share this story with anyone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVc and follow for more chilling real-life crime narratives. Turn on the notification bell because Part 4 will expose the final consequences, the legal reckoning, and the enduring impact on the survivors. The arrest of Moore in early 2015 marked the beginning of the end, but it also revealed just how deeply entrenched his manipulation had been. By the time law enforcement apprehended him, Moore had constructed layers of deception so intricate that investigators had to untangle years of psychological control, financial fraud, and emotional exploitation. Each day in court brought new revelations. Victims recounting their losses, families describing the trauma inflicted, and the prosecutors presenting a timeline that made the city shudder. For Maria Sanchez, a single mother from Evanston, Moore's actions had been catastrophic. He had promised investment guidance, claiming he could help her secure her children's future. Instead, he drained her savings, coerced her into silence, and systematically eroded her confidence. Sitting in court, she testified through tears, explaining how the psychological burden had affected her work, her relationships, and her ability to trust again. "I felt invisible," Maria said, "as though my pain didn't matter because he was always one step ahead." Her story mirrored countless others, each victim's life permanently altered, each narrative a testament to Moore's cunning and cruelty. Legal teams worked tirelessly to piece together a prosecutable case. Evidence from digital trails, financial audits, and corroborated testimonies painted Moore not as a lone opportunist, but as a calculated predator. The courtroom became a stage for exposing the reality of manipulation at its most insidious, the kind that doesn't leave physical scars, but destroys self-worth, independence, and peace of mind. Prosecutor Helen Kim emphasized in her closing statement that Moore's crimes were not just financial, they were deeply personal assaults on trust and human dignity. The trial also revealed the systemic failures that had allowed Moore to operate unchecked for so long. From overburdened investigators to victims hesitant to come forward, a combination of social, emotional, and bureaucratic barriers had delayed justice. The public watched in disbelief as testimonies highlighted how subtle threats, clever deception, and exploitation of empathy allowed Moore to evade detection for years. Each courtroom session was a painful reminder. Sometimes, justice comes, but only after immense suffering has already taken its toll. When the verdict finally arrived, a life sentence without parole, the relief was palpable, but the consequences endured. Survivors began the long process of rebuilding their lives, attending therapy, and attempting to reclaim a sense of normalcy. Community programs were established to educate the public on emotional and financial exploitation, aiming to prevent others from falling prey to predators like Moore. Yet for many, the emotional scars remained, proof that justice, though delivered, cannot always restore what was stolen. Questions lingered in the minds of all who had followed the case. How could someone manipulate so many without detection? Could the system have acted faster? And how do survivors reclaim their lives when the psychological damage is so profound? If this story has gripped you so far, comment "Justice Served." Share this story with anyone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVc and follow for more chilling real-life crime narratives. Turn on the notification bell because Part 5 will dive into the aftermath, survivor stories, and the long-term legacy of Moore's crimes. The courtroom had emptied, the gavel struck, and Moore's life behind bars was a reality. But for the victims, the story was far from over. Part 5 of this harrowing saga explores the aftermath, the survivors' struggles, the ripple effects of betrayal, and the tentative steps toward healing in a world that suddenly felt both safer and more fragile. In suburban Chicago, survivors like Maria Sanchez and Thomas Reed began piecing their lives back together. Maria returned to her job as a nurse, yet every financial decision carried the weight of past deception. Counseling sessions, community support groups, and advocacy workshops became her lifeline. Thomas, a small business owner, focused on rebuilding his finances and mentoring others about the dangers of trust-based exploitation. Their stories were emblematic of the long road survivors face, a journey of resilience, courage, and relentless determination to reclaim autonomy. The impact extended beyond the individual. Families fractured under the stress, friendships were tested, and local communities confronted a sobering truth. Predators like Moore can hide behind charm, legal loopholes, and emotional manipulation. Schools and community centers began implementing awareness programs, warning about the subtle signs of coercion and financial fraud, hoping to prevent others from suffering similar fates. Legal analysts highlighted changes in protocols for reporting and investigating such crimes, emphasizing faster response times and better victim support structures. Media coverage also played a role in shaping the narrative. Documentaries, news exposés, and crime podcasts revisited the case, dissecting Moore's methods and exposing the systemic gaps that allowed his predation to persist. This renewed public scrutiny sparked debates about the balance between privacy, surveillance, and the need for early intervention in cases of manipulation and fraud. The societal conversation shifted. It was no longer just a story of an individual criminal, but a lens through which to examine vulnerability, accountability, and justice delayed. Yet amidst the lingering trauma, there were moments of hope. Victims shared letters, fundraisers, and testimonies at community events, turning pain into purpose. Survivor advocacy groups emerged, dedicating resources to emotional recovery, financial literacy, and legal empowerment. Each small victory, a regained savings account, a stable career, or a moment of peace, was a testament to human resilience in the face of prolonged betrayal. As Part 5 concludes, one question remains. Can a community fully heal when the wounds inflicted are invisible yet permanent? The legacy of Moore's crimes is not only the lives he upended, but the awareness, vigilance, and compassion his exposure has inspired. If this story has moved you, comment "Never Again." Share it with everyone who should hear it. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVc and follow for more in-depth, real-life crime narratives. Turn on your notification bell, because every story here serves as both a cautionary tale and a testament to the strength of the human spirit.